Hey, what's happening guys? Mark back here at Mark's Aquatics. I'm down my local fish shop, and I think on today's little Let's Breed a Species of Fish episode, we're going to be breeding some Neon Tetras, I think. One of my favourite fish. I think we all started off with one of these, or a couple of these, as we've grown up through the trade and through the hobby. Beautiful fish, egg scattering fish from the Orinoco River, Amazon Basin, Brazil, all them neck of the woods, black water species, and easy to eat, very easy to spawn. And I'm going to teach you guys how to do it, and also how to rear up the fry. Okay, brilliant stuff. But first we're going to go to the other tank. They've got a big display tank there, and a friend of mine who works at the shop is just about to feed the moor eel, so we'll pop across there and we'll watch him feed it. Okay, he's just about to feed the big leopard's moor eel here. Look, size of that trigger. Here he goes. Let's get this boy on film. Come on in, Mr. Morey. Where are you? Look at it. Everything else is attacking it apart from, here he comes. Boom. Oh, he missed. Come on in. Yeah, he's got it. Retreating back into his little lair. He's big now, isn't he?
Oh, he's a beast. Off he goes.
Let's see if he sticks his head out the tube. He's coming in one end, he'll have to come out the other end. Here he comes. What a monster. Beautiful fish. Wow guys, that was absolutely amazing. I'm glad he used tongs, or he could have been missing a couple of fingers there. Absolutely stunning that was. Beautiful tanks and beautiful fish in there. Right, let's get back to the workshop and I'll teach you guys how to breed some of these little Neon Tetras. Let's go. Right guys, what we've got to do is we've got to make ourselves a nice little culture of infusoria, which is micro life, which is going to feed your little tetras, okay? So what we've got to do is boil up some I'm going to use broccoli. You can use potato as well. I'll just show you what I'm up to now. We can go back now. We can pop that next to it. Now this is a plastic little pot, which is going to be a little bit disfigured if I go pouring that water in there now. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out with my tongs. Bear with me, I've forgotten where they are. Right, grab the old tongs. Get hold of your broccoli. And then you can pop that in there and let that go cold. Stick the old sandwiches aside for a minute. And now we've got the start of our culture. Now once that goes cool, fill that with aquarium water. Okay. Also, we'll chuck a little bit of moss in there as well, because that will also, and that will already have a microculture of infusoria on it, which is basically microscopic little creatures and critters that live all over your moss, tank surfaces, everything like that. You can hardly see them, but they're all over the place in your aquarium, and that is what we want to be breeding for these neon fries when they get out of that egg laying, that egg stage, and they start to freeze swim, and they'll start picking off this stuff. You won't see it, but they'll see it very, very easily. So now we've got to wait now till that cools down. We've got other stuff to be doing, and I'll get back to you when that's full of water. Right guys, there you go. I've filled it with aquarium water. Now don't worry if you haven't got Java moss like I've got there, because if you're using your tank water, the infusoria will already be in the water column anyway, so they'll soon get to work on that broccoli. As it starts to decay, they'll multiply in their billions, and you'll see the water is going to go from clear to quite milky looking, and that is when the infusoria are going to be thick in there, and you're going to wait then until that water slowly starts to clear up. If you've got a strong magnifying glass, you can look in and you will actually see these little things creeping around all over the glass. And then what you do is you basically take your pipette or a turkey baster and you suck some of the water out of there, which will have thousands and thousands of them in, and add them to the tank with a fryer every day, and that'll fatten the little guys up for you. Okay. Okay guys, now we've done that infusoria culture, we're going to let that rest now for a while and let that culture build up over time, because we want to do that a few days before. That's why when I do this I like to set these up first, get these ready. We've got to condition the fish first also, and get that infusoria culture going, because that's what the fry are going to need when they first go free swimming. And that's what a lot of people fail to do. They breed these little fish, and that's the hardest part, is the rearing of the fry. That's the hardest part. That's getting that infusoria, that micro life, in an abundance for them to feed, so they can put on some weight before you can get them onto bigger foods such as the water worms, micro worms, banana worms, freshly hatched artemia, stuff of that nature, which we can get into later on. But first of all, we've got to set these 2 tanks up. But we've got the that culture started now. One of my favourite fish of all time, the Neon Tetra, distributed all over South America, from Peru, Brazil, all over the place there. Loves the black water streams, and it's been one of the most popular fish from aquarists ever since I was a kid. And people think they're quite hard to breed, but they're not that hard to breed if you just give them the right conditions that they need, and that is peat soil and things, which brings that pH right down. They love soft water, so we're gonna, yes guys, temperature range 25 degrees centigrade, that's 77 degrees Fahrenheit. That's what we're looking for, and a pH range of anywhere between 4 and 7.5. okay, they like soft water, and so that's what we've got to replicate, that nature, that Amazon basin, that Orinoco River, all these kinds of things. We've got to build those in, and we've got to build that into these little tiny tanks here and replicate what they need and the right conditions for them to breed as well. Okay. Anyway guys, if you're new to this channel, hit the old subscribe button and that notification bell for up and coming videos, and that way you're not going to miss any videos in the future. If you're new to the channel, like I said, go back and check out some of the videos that I've done. We are coming up to around 300 videos now, of all different types of topics I've covered in the last year and a half. I think I've been doing this and thoroughly enjoying it as well, taking you guys along the way on the different things on breeding that I look after and keep in my workshop here and in my shrimp room as well. Yeah, neons can live anywhere. They can live up to 10 years, so they've got a real long life if looked after properly and given the right conditions to live in. So the game plan is now we've got to get some peat. Now, don't go and grab any old peat out your garden or anything like that, because it could have pesticides on it, it could have weed killer on it, all kinds of things that you don't want it to put in there. So what I suggest you do is you go to your local reptile shop or aquatic shop, they might do it as well, and buy some of that. You can buy a block of peat. It comes in a little block about so square, and it's been dehydrated and pressed. And what you can do with that is you can put that into some hot water, lukewarm water. That will absorb that water back into it again, and it will reactivate it, and then you can leave that in there. You can either take some of the tannins out the water, because it will release quite a few, and it'll take around maybe 2 to 3 days before it sinks. Okay guys, right then, what you can see either side there, what we've got a heater on both sides. We've got to warm this get this temperature up to speed where we want it. Okay, 25 degrees. We're going to be setting those thermostats at little 50-watt heaters in these tanks, one each side. We're not going to put any filtration in there or anything at the moment at all, as it's not needed. And then what we've got to do is we've got to add some peat, which I've pre-soaked there. Okay, that's nice and healthy. So now what we've got to do is we've got to put some peat into these tanks. So we don't want tons of the stuff, just enough to cover the base and to change those water parameters. And the reason why I'm setting up 2 tanks is it's because we've got to condition these little guys up first. Get them nice and fat, get her full of eggs, and get them all ready. I'm going to get a few bits that are going to float again, guys, when we fill this up full of water, but we don't need to worry about that. I think that'll probably do there. And you're going to get some discoloration in the water, because obviously they call it black water species of fish because of the colour of the water where they come from in these rivers and streams. And now what we've got to do is get our tongs, or in my case my little blade tool, and just move that around and just cover the base with it. And make sure you distribute it nice and evenly all over the top. You can just pat it down, get it into all those corners. Just the little drip trays I'm using there, that's just to stop that moisture evaporating from the system. All the better fry that I did in here are growing up lovely now. I can, if you like I say, if you're familiar with the channel, you'd have seen them. But I've got a video on them breeding and how to breed those if you're interested in breeding better. Little Siamese fighting fish, which is very, very easy to do and a very rewarding but lengthy process, but they're growing out nice now. They're probably getting up to around 1 centimetre now, if not a bit bigger. So so that's good. So we've done that. So we've got 2 tanks now with the peat in the bottom. Now we're going to need some Java moss as well, because what they'll do is they'll go into a corner. We're going to put a ball of Java moss in each corner. We're going to replicate it in both tanks. We're going to put the male in one side and the female in the other side, with a partition in the middle like that. Okay, just so they can't sort of see each other. And we're going to heavily feed them up now. So our next plan is we're going to get some Java moss. We're going to wash that out, get a nice clean ball of that. You don't have to use Java moss, guys. You can use a spawning mop as well, and the eggs will stick onto that spawning mop or fall in amongst the peat, and they will hatch there, and then they'll be free swimming. Right, there you go. Got 2 balls of Java moss. Going to just plonk one in the corner there and one in the corner there, just so we put a little bit of life back into the tank. There'll be all kinds of bugs in there from your tank anyway, and that will also start that infusoria in there as well, because believe it or not, they're going to feed off the stuff in the peat as well as the decaying Java moss, and they're always in the water column. It's just you can never see the stuff. Okay, now what we're going to do, and what I normally do with this now, I won't fill it up. You can do dechlorinated water, but what I do is I take some existing tank water out. They're only small tanks, and I'll fill them up with tank water anyway, because that's got bacteria in it and everything else, and that just gives it more of a mature system to start with. Right, let's speed things up a bit here, guys, and get these tanks full. Right, there you go, we're full of water, and that's why they call it black water. Look at the state of that. Looks like a load of mud in there. And but that's going to settle down over the next few hours, so we're just going to let that settle down onto the base, and we can just level it out a bit. It's bound to, if the water going in is going to have blown that peat around, so once that's settled again, we can carefully move it around a bit. Now if you haven't got tanks like I've got here, you can always buy those little critter food grade acrylic little boxes that you can keep your bugs and your locusts, little spiders, centipedes, that kind of stuff, and you can buy them for roughly, I don't know, maybe about under £10 each, maybe £7 each, something along those lines. And you can do them in that as well, in the bigger ones around that sort of size. So there's another thing there, and you can always keep them, store them away, and if you fancy breeding something else or giving it a go, you can always pull them out the cupboard again, and just set them up and breed something else, because it's just the next level it is for me, is breeding. For breeding, I used to breed a lot of things many years ago, but since I've got back into it, marine aquariums are my main background. Kept marine for years and years and years, breeding coral, fragging coral off, bringing on new colonies, and absolutely thoroughly enjoyed it. Did it for years, but I've got back into the freshwater, like as we all start and when we start, and I'm thoroughly enjoying doing a lot more of the stuff that I used to do when I was a lot younger, and hopefully helping you guys out along the way with some of the knowledge and watching you and helping you set up little tanks so you can have some pretty good success rates. It does take time, it does take patience, but it's really worth it in the end when you look at your tank and you've just gone and got two Tetras from your local shop for £1.50 each or whatever, and you could end up with a lovely big school in your tank, big shoal in your tank in a matter of weeks. So it's all good fun to do. Right then, so what we're going to do, we're going to pop back when these have cleared up and I've moved things around. I've switched the heaters on now, they're both running, so we're going to get that up to 25 degrees. It's tank water warm anyway, so I wouldn't have thought those heaters are even working at the moment, but they might be. Now they're off, so that water. A good thing to get as well as one of these laser pointers. Yeah, grab yourself one of these guys, they're really handy. Just point it at the tank, pull the trigger in, and it'll give you your temperature, which is 24.1 and 2 between, yeah, 24.2 on that one. And 24 on that one. So I've seen the heaters, I can just see the bulbs are illuminated through the glass, so they're on, so they're working. So we've got to let these clear now. We've got to get them up to temperature. Right guys, the aquariums now have cleared up nicely. We've got a moss ball there and a moss ball there. I'm going to put a separator through the middle here, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a pair in each side just to see how we go. I was going to do two different types of Tetras, but I thought we'd go for the neons on this video, and we can always breed different things later on. And drop a comment in the section below if you want me to breed a certain type of fish, if you've had trouble breeding it, or you need handy hints and tips and tricks and all that stuff on how to do it, and I'll help you out the best I can. But this is a fantastic way of breeding Tetras. We've got the peat soil in the base now, we've got a lovely darkened black water colour, we've got a nice pH of around 6, 5.5 to 6 with the peat, and obviously, and what I've also done is I put in about this much dechlorinated tap water, okay, up to this level here on both tanks, and then through my reverse osmosis unit I've filled the rest up with RO water, and that's lowered that pH down, because the if you're unfamiliar with reverse osmosis units, they actually strip out everything out of the water. They demineralize your water, they take everything out, they take all the heavy metals out, all the different minerals, they strip out everything and just basically leave pure water and nothing else in there if your cartridges are up to speed. And then your TDS should be 0, which is total dissolved solids, should be absolutely 0. Then you will add that then, so that water there could be 6, 7 coming out of your tap. Fill that up then with RO water. That will it will dilute that then down to 5, 6.5 to 5, something like that. It just dilutes it down and brings that pH level down to those recommended levels that we need to breed these little guys. I've got about 7 or 8 neons in another tank, in one of my plec tanks, which keep all the little bits and clean up around the place. So we're going to take 2 of those out of there, or 4 of those out of there, and last thing tonight I'm going to add them into these tanks. They're up to temperature now, they're running at 25 degrees centigrade, which is 77 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the sort of marker we're looking for. We've got the discoloration in the water now, we've got the Indian almond leaves. I chopped up some Indian almond leaves as well, okay, some of these guys, chop some of them off. Now they're going to release beneficial tannins into the water, which are going to stop any mould, funguses appearing, because they do have a lot of those antibacterial and anti-fungicidal properties in the tannins which are released, and that's going to stop those eggs going mouldy and keep everything nice and healthy. So the game plan is now, last thing tonight, I'm going to grab a pair of Tetras, put them in that tank and a pair in that tank. Now conditioning your Tetras is important also. If you've got them in your community tank, start heavily feeding on Daphnia, bloodworm, bug bites, stuff of that nature which are high in protein. Really bulk them up, fatten them up, she'll produce lots of eggs, and then you're conditioning them then to spawn. And then when you take them out, you put them into this environment Your community tank might not be the same. You see, you might have 7 in there, but you need, sometimes with neons, you need to drop it down to the 6.5, say 5.5 to 6 before they'll spawn. They might be regularly spawning in your tank anyway, but because you've got obviously other tank mates in there, little plecos, different things of that nature, they're going to be hoovering up them eggs as they're being laid, and they're going to be found and eaten. So odds are they're breeding in your tank anyway. But by doing it this way, you're producing everything that they need. You've got the moss in there, which is going to be which has already got infusoria on it, as is now going to be working its way through that peat, living off those microorganisms in there. They're going to be multiplying on there as well. We've also got our little culture built up of infusoria in my shrimp room, which is nice and warm, which has got nice and cloudy today, and it's absolutely stuffed with them in there. So the plan is, what I want to try and do is show you guys how they actually breed, how they're going to chase the male or chase the female around through the courtship behaviour, and hopefully we'll see some eggs being released. They're very small, quite hard to see, but if you keep your eyes peeled you can see it, and I'll try and get some nice footage for you of that happening as well. So once our fish are conditioned, like we just spoke about, pair in this tank, a pair in that tank, last thing at night. We're going to put them in last thing, and then we're going to turn all the lights off, okay, and leave them in there all overnight, and then we're going to put our lights to come on at around 8 o'clock in the morning. It's nice and dull in here. Tetras come from blackwater rivers, like I said, the Orinoco and the Amazon and Brazil and the Amazon basin and all these sort of places. So it's very, very heavily peaty water. It's very tanned with the leaves, and they like that dark water to breed in. So we've got everything ready for them there. These lights I've just put on there for now, just so you can see the tanks and how they look, with that peaty look to them. And we've recreated what they need in nature now to spawn, so we've got everything ready for them. So last thing tonight, we're going to put the pairs in there, pair in there, turn the lights off, set that time for 8 o'clock. We're going to come down. As the lights come on, I'll press play on the camera, and hopefully we'll see some spawning activity. Okay guys? Right, okay guys, it's pretty late. I've just covered them up, I've just entered them into the aquarium. So when the lights come on, we're going to be here and we'll check out how the spawning goes. See you in the morning. Okay guys, it's the next morning. I've just turned the lights on, and let's see what happens. Right, okay guys, we've got a pair now in each tank. Nice big fat female in each side, full of eggs, and the little male. So now the lights have just come on. So now we're going to hang around and wait for some activity, and hopefully we'll have some. Okay guys, I've positioned you half and half over the Java moss so you can see any action if it happens. Hopefully it will, and I'll put on a nice show for you guys. I've just missed a couple of spawns. I've just turned the light on, and they've done a couple of passes over the moss and released a few eggs, but let's hope they'll do it again so you can see it. See the guy on the right hand side, he's trying to lure that female over that moss. There you go, he spooked her over it. There you go, coupling together, little release, little cloud of eggs. See them falling down? Perfect, I'm glad they showed you that. And now they've left them alone and they've gone over to the other side. Now this is going to carry on for a good time. They're going to keep spawning. Here they go again, maybe. You see the female little fins twitching away there, and you'll slowly push her around over that moss to release it over the moss. If you've got spawning mops, that'll work the same. The Java moss, I find, there they go. No, there you go, there you go, another little cloud of eggs there. So they're spawning well, which is fantastic stuff. The things I do for you guys, getting up early in the morning, I don't know, but I thoroughly enjoy it. I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it, but it fascinates me, and it has done ever since I was a kid. Just got to you've just got to get those conditions right for them. There you go, he's pursuing her around again. It just gets that arousal going, and then that'll spark that quick little release of eggs and fertilisation, and they're going to be chasing each other around for a little bit. Anyway guys, you've seen how they how they come together, how they breed, how they lay the eggs, and now we've got to wait until these eggs hatch, which is going to be in a few days' time. And don't forget guys, that infusoria culture is the key to bringing these little chaps up once they hatch, so it's really important that you do that. Follow what I did before in the video. These cultures take around a week before they're usable. Another little cloud of eggs there on the side there, just been released. It takes about a week, yeah, for it to get ready and get enough in there to feed these little chaps. Okay, so that's really important. That look at that, laying eggs behind the heater there. Hopefully we'll get a really good hatch rate out of these and bring quite a few up. So I've been dying to breed some for the bench tank because we haven't got any in there as yet. So that's the plan. Yes, infusoria, very important for bringing up your baby fry, especially these little egg scattering fry. They're tiny little things. They are things that, especially with, like, if you've watched my videos on how to breed better and things like that, and bring them on, very similar. You can also feed them micro worms as well. Now I've got a type of worm called Walter worms, and I've got a video on those. If you want to go back, if I remember, I'll link it in the comments below for you to have a look at. But these infusoria, it's just micro creatures, microscopic life that lives all over the aquarium, all over your plant matter and stuff like that. And they're like your little janitors in there, your little caretakers that look after and eat all the debris and rubbish in your tank. But you've got to get a really good little stock of these guys before you can. They really have taken to laying eggs behind that heater for some reason. There's probably that little bit of extra warmth coming off of the heater there. You can see the eggs dropping away. And they're going to fall in amongst that peat and get hidden away. Or maybe they just, look at that, another little cloud of eggs there, fantastic. Maybe they just want a bit of privacy. You see the eggs get them dry. It's really surprising me actually, because normally when they do this, they're very quick to turn on the eggs and eat them. The other pair next door aren't as active. Saying that, there they go, but they're just out of shot. I've got a separator in between. You see the dark strip in between. Now that's a piece of wood that I've got, and I just slide that in between the tanks so it gives them privacy from each other, because I didn't want them trying to breed through the glass when they see each other. Look at that, we got a result. Like I said guys, breeding fish isn't hard. It's the egg laying part and getting them to breed. That's the easy part. It's rearing these things up, which is the difficult part. Okay. Right. Okay, guys. I've taken the adults out now. Pardon me. The eggs have been laid. Tanks are all settled in. All the eggs are going to be on the base now, in amongst the moss and on the peat as well. So we've got to give them now a couple of days. They should hatch within 24 hours, but they won't be free swimming until about 3 to 4 days, actively strong swimming. So we've got to keep our eyes peeled, make sure that infusoria culture is up to speed, and we've got lots of them on the way, because we're going to need lots of them guys to put in when they hatch. Okay, anyway guys, tune in for part 2. Hope you enjoyed part 1, and as always, you're all stars. Love you loads. Take care, and I'll see you on part 2 of breeding tetras or Mark's Aquatics. Bye for now.
Just me and my guitar.